This is Stars and Scopes with your friend Uma, updated every new and full moon with guidance based on planetary transits in the current sky and extra support from tarot. For accuracy, take a look at your rising sign first if you know it, and do feel free to listen to your sun, moon and rising if you'd like the full picture. If you're interested in your birth chart, check out the readings page at umaruby.com, and if you'd like to support the work, head over to buymeacoffee.com/umaruby and you can buy me a coffee. Finally, if you're a visual learner, look up Uma Ruby Tarot on YouTube and you can watch and learn. Okay, let's take a look. Hello Libra and Libra rising, welcome to your horoscope for the Solar Eclipse in Scorpio, happening on Tuesday the 25th of October at 9:49 p.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. So if you're in the northern, it's the night after the 26th. Now, a little trigger warning first of all. If you're not in a space where you'd like to talk about grief or loss or are feeling perhaps that you'd rather not, that's completely fine, and I won't be upset if you skip out on this reading. I have a feeling that we might go there, as Scorpio is the master of. At this eclipse, we are being encouraged to step over the threshold in some way. The tarot card that I will be guiding us through this whole reading is the Five of Cups. This is the card of grief. This is the card of loss and of sorrow. Scorpio for you rules your second house of talent and self-worth and material access, your possessions, maybe. Venus, the planet that rules your sign, Libra, has found itself in a conjunction with this new moon eclipse. So in that darkness and in that sort of potential power outage, that redirection that eclipses bring about in our lives, you're being guided and you're being protected in some way as well. Venus, the planet of beauty and art and harmony and love and balance, is with you. Not in your sign, they've just left, but they've entered Scorpio. So that energy that you know so well has come as a force field to guide you through this eclipse. Eclipses can definitely be endings. Eclipses can mark times of change and a shift of energy, a shift of focus. So if you think about your livelihood, think about your wealth and your access to enough, and think about some of the movement that's been happening in that part of your life. Has there been some losses to grieve in that world? Has there been financial decisions that were made that led to loss? Or are you considering your input? Are you considering your talent and your values and how they might be going through some sort of metamorphosis, and how they might be going through a change that's being encouraged by this eclipse? And there might be things that have needed to be set aside or put down. There may have been one focus that isn't relevant anymore. And with that end of lifestyle or of goal, that vocation, there may be some grief around that. There may be things to say goodbye to in terms of where it is that you're headed. If in fact, wealth and success is something that you were focused on. The second house is really, there's a lot of info in there. Traditionally, it's a Taurian house. Because you're a Libra rising, everything's mirrored in your chart. So what would normally be ruled by Taurus is in fact ruled by Scorpio for you. So the eclipses will be playing out in the second house of material access, talent, values, and your 8th house, which is soul contracts, how we are bound to other individuals, the intensity sometimes of a sexual relationship, the intensity of grief and of death, of saying goodbye, the resources of others and how we are maybe beholden to them and how we rely on other people's input to move ahead. This is where these eclipses are playing out for you, Libra. There's short-circuiting here, short-circuiting there. So if you can look ahead and look to the lunar eclipse in Taurus that will be happening 2 weeks after this solar eclipse in Scorpio, there's a relationship there, isn't there, in some way? There's an individual gain, there's an individual your individual resources and the resources that are shared, or your individual values and your perspective, your way of being and way of relating to the earth, and the contractual connection on a soul level with other people. These two houses are being eclipsed, and they have been since last year, since November, and they will continue to be until July of next year. So I think that this is the middling point. This is the shift in energy is something that this is not maybe the first time that you have noticed this change. This is definitely the time to acknowledge the sorrow that might be attached with some of this letting go that's needed to happen. This is definitely the time to allow yourself that emotion. When I think of Scorpio, I always think of ice. I think of the depth of an iceberg and the fixed rigidity of frozen water. That's Scorpio to a T. And I see Venus here in all the brightness that that planet brings to our lives. I see this in some way sort of melting some of that ice. So if there's been an emotional blockage, or if there's been something that you've had to suppress, you've had to hold down emotionally to get through this, potential kind of upheaval of assets and of wealth, if money's been tricky, or if money has come and gone, or if there's been things to organize and to figure out in terms of that kind of binding nature with other individuals, and you've had to suck it all in to deal with it, then this eclipse, this solar eclipse in Scorpio, I think would be a really lovely invitation for you to allow some of that frozen water to move. And that's what I've been saying for every damn horoscope, but I really believe it to be quite true. It's kind of quite obvious in the configuration of the planets, and in also what we're kind of moving towards in terms of the astrology, and also in the tarot. The Five of Cups is a powerful card. And it's the first instance that we, in the minor arcana, it's kind of the first instance of black. There's an emo nature to this card, and you're allowed to feel that. I know sometimes Libra, it can be really confronting if things aren't in tune and if things aren't amiable. Sometimes that scorpionic intensity can have you wanting to sort of dash off. It might not be a world that you're particularly interested in. I would remind you, though, that no matter who you are, Scorpio resides in your chart. And Scorpio has an essential part to play in our experience and in our journey. So it was lovely to pull the King and the Queen of Cups out for you in your tarot. These two energies work in a really beautiful symbiosis. They work in a really great relationship. They both have emotional literacy down to a T. That's what I really see here. They're both water signs. They both could be read as Scorpio. They're both sitting on, well, the King probably on choppier water, but the Queen is lapping at her feet, you know. I think that these two energies are supporting you, and perhaps there's folks in your environment that you can go to at this time, and you might find that there might be some sharing that happens. It's all well and good to catch up with friends for a latte, but I wonder if there's friends in your environment. I wonder if there's people that you can go to that you can actually tell them how you feel, and you can tell them some of the stickier stuff, the darker stuff. Because you'll find them, and you'll find them to be really available for that. And you'll find that there's there's a lovely exchange that can happen when you are open up to someone else. When you start sharing, they'll open up to you and they'll start sharing with you, and you can feel proud of yourself that you're able to offer that ear to listen. I suspect, there's this holding on to resources, there's this holding on to kind of pulling the purse strings a little tighter, maybe, at this time. And this could be the second house activation. If you've been concerned about paying your way, or if you've been concerned about the mortgage, or you've been concerned about the business, you've been concerned about the future, you know, I do really understand how difficult it is for a lot of people right now. In some ways, it's difficult for folks that have something to lose, you know. Things like cost of living is rising, things like the economy is crashing. You know, for folks that have something to lose, this can be a really turbulent, difficult time. And it might pay you to reach out to someone. This could be a therapist too. I don't know, there's two individuals here, there's two energies that both have the same skills. They've got different colours in the way that they express them, but they're both very powerful and they're both very literate emotionally. So I kind of feel, I feel, Libra, that it might be better to confide some of these worries that you might be having around your financial stability. If you've got nothing to lose, as some of us do, it's a very interesting time to be aware and alert of the foundations kind of creaking. This system called capitalism that folks like, let's face it, you know, definitely I have benefited from blindly for our lifetime. It's coming to a point where it has to move, it has to change. The foundations of wealth, the structure of gain, all has to go. And I think the planet's telling us that too. That is not to say that if there is something to lose, that's not to discount that pain and that worry. I think that now is the time, Libra, to really share and to allow, think of the eclipse as like a moment to put tools down. You know, if you're sort of banging in tent pegs and the tent's flapping in the wind, you know, like give yourself a moment to put tools down and to seek out an individual or two individuals, as I see here. There's something about a kind of like a team sort of environment. There's support on both sides for you, Libra. And tell them how you're feeling. Tell them your worries. Tell them your troubles. Even if it might just be your perception of the instability of the structures of power right now. That could be something to share with someone. A problem shared is a problem halved. That's not always true. The sentiment's lovely though. Sharing is paramount. You don't have to keep it all to yourself, Libra. Not all the time. Because you want that balance. Okay, that's your reading for the solar eclipse, Libra. I hope it helped. And I'll be back in 2 weeks to talk lunar eclipse in Taurus. Okay, so this is the other side of that coin that we're sort of juggling with now. You can consider eclipse season as the 2 weeks between the solar and the lunar. You can start thinking about it now, as in I'm recording these a week beforehand. The energy will be felt after as well. So the mathematics of astrology are very elastic. So whenever you come across this reading and there's messages, there's information that I'm sharing that's hitting home for you, then it's the right time. Interesting to mark it in the diary and just witness what's going on around you. You can get your birth chart read at umaruby.com. Do head over there and book yourself a chart reading with me. But I'll speak to you in 2 weeks, Libra. You take care. Bye.